Okay, good morning. Appreciate you guys being here. Really appreciate our fans and the support on Saturday night. Thought everyone in the stadium did a great job providing a great atmosphere for our guys. And it was great to have a night game. It's been a long time since we've had one here at home. So certainly a good experience for everyone that attended. Appreciate them. Starting Pac-12 play. I had practice yesterday. Guys were really on point in terms of their attention to detail and their focus, understanding that, as we're in our conference play, wiggle room for errors becomes less and less. On the injury front, Jawan did practice and looked like he's really on track to be able to help us out, but we'll see, because I know I've probably teased you guys a few times too many with that already. With Cam McCormick, okay, Cam, after assessing him and after him seeing our doctors, it is best for us to take the rest of the season and rest Cam and let him heal so that he can have a successful spring and then start next season with us. We have tried. Cam's got a tremendous heart. He's a hard worker. I know he's been through a lot, and he's been pushing to try to get there. But due to the nature of the injury, he's going to be fine, but it is best in his best interest and best interest of the team that he have this year to heal up and then come back and join us next season. And in spring ball, I should say, in the off-season workouts. Austin Faliu, we did hold him out, more precautionary than anything else. He seems healthy and ready to go, so we're counting on him, and the same goes for Bryson Young. Thomas Graham looks really good. I know he had tweaked his ankle on game day, but the x-rays were negative, and he is moving around pretty well. Jake Hansen is being evaluated. Stephen Jones had a stinger, but is okay. Cyrus had the back spasms, but we feel that he's going to be okay as well. And in terms of the other guys that had the more significant injuries, Micah Pittman and Brendan Schooler, we expect those guys to join us for practice after the bye week, but they're making really good progress. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of where we're at from an injury standpoint, roster standpoint, and open to questions.
Right here, front left, James.
Starting both with Cam and Jake, Mario. For Cam, again, this started as a ankle sprain of some kind and is now season ending. He's missed a year. Is there discussion of 60-year applications and whatnot on his front? And with Jake, you mentioned being evaluated after the game as well. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to read between the lines of him posting something and all the offensive linemen reposting it is with solidarity, but also could indicate something. Is there something more there with him?
Jake's being evaluated, and when we get a true assessment on him, certainly we'll be open with that. In terms of Cam, Cam he's fought hard to get healthy. And, you wish these timelines are sometimes quicker than what they are, but some of those things are unpredictable. The plan for him is a strong one. It's a solid one, an airtight one. And you know what? We're here to support him and make sure he gets back to full strength. Our student athletes and their health and welfare is always going to be at the forefront of every decision. And we look forward to him being there with us through this process to coach his teammates and be there for him, and certainly join us in the offseason to get back on track.
Right here in the middle.
Cam was suited up to play. Was there ever any intention of him seeing the field?
We want to see how he felt. We want to see if this thing is something that he could maybe push through. And the decision was made at the end of warm-ups that, you know what, let's reevaluate this thing. And it was reevaluated, and that's why we're going forward with this particular process.
Front left, Matt.
With the guys that played in place of the guys that were hurt, how do you feel like Brady Aiello did and Michael Wright did in the second half and the little bit of the first half?
They were prepared, and it showed in the way that they played. They executed well, performed well, high levels, and those are two guys that we look at those guys as co-starters. We feel that strongly about them and have that type of confidence in them.
All right, Ryan.
Mario, at the end of the year, after having a few road struggles in the beginning, you guys played better against Oregon State. Obviously, the Red Box Bowl went down to the wire with Auburn. Do you feel like you've established being able to take this on the road, or with so many young players, is that still something you're working on?
I think you always work on it. I don't think you ever stop. You have to understand that you've got to pack your toughness, your resiliency, right? You've got to pack your perseverance, all the stuff that goes with being a tough football team on the road, and knowing that, when you leave, your home and you go do it on the road, there's the factors that are outside the football game itself. They can't matter. They cannot be relevant, and it requires a certain kind of mindset. So with young players or older players, it's going to be always a huge point of emphasis.
Here, James on the left.
realize it's a very small sample, Mario, and Blake has done extremely well at punting. But with the 2 punts, both the one against Auburn that was just inside the 50, this one this past weekend that was just the plus territory.
Yeah.
They do sail for touchbacks. That was Snee's role. Does he get a look now in that short field coffin corner scenario?
Yeah, he's always going to get a look, but Blake has actually done really well with that in practice. So going into this week in practice, we like to keep that thing open, but going into practice, he still is going to be the lead punter on both just regular situations and also we call them the sky punt situations as well.
Justin had a lot of praise for the tight ends and particularly Jacob after the game on Saturday. What does it do for you guys offensively and moving forward into Pac-12 play when Justin and Jacob are clicking like that, like they have in the last few games?
It's great to have because those big bodies, it's a whole different passing window, right? Those long rangey guys that have big catch radiuses and that can also run. And we're looking at a guy that has legitimate speed that can stretch the field, does a great job in the short game, the quick game, as well as the intermediate routes. So he presents some issues for our opponents, and Jake's become a really good blocker as well. I know he takes a lot of pride in that. So when you keep a guy like that on the field, you could have him as part of the core. You could detach him and put him on the perimeter as well as a receiver or as a blocker. Now, your flexibility as an offense continues to expand. So really fired up about what he's doing, and also the other guys as well. I mean, you look at Ryan Bay and some of the things that he's done, as well as Hunter Campmoyer, and then I know Spencer Webb has had that dual role at receiver, but he is still assuming the role of a lot of the F, the H, so to speak, role from a tight end standpoint. So we feel those big bodies are giving us some opportunities to create some explosive plays.
Front left, Matt.
Clarify with Schooler and Pittman is back to practice. Does that mean they'll be capable of playing the next game after the bye week, or is that just part of the rehab of getting them acclimated back into things?
It's part of both, really. We feel that they do have a chance, and they're on target from you look at the timeline, the original one, which you always want to be safe with those things because obviously there was a lot of work that went into it and a healing process that comes with it. But they seem so ahead of schedule. They're chomping at the bit. We know that. So we got to slow them down a little bit and make sure that they just are ready to go when they are ready. Now, but in terms of the practice part itself, if everything progresses as it goes, we'll see then. Hopefully we'll have a great update at that time.
On the right, Ryan.
Mario, Stanford's also had some key injuries, and they've also had a loss at USC, so their margin for error is gone in the Pac-12 race. So what are you expecting from kind of this wounded Stanford team?
Well, I mean, I think everyone at this point has gone through a good amount of injuries. I mean, I feel like we spend most of our time in here talking about a lot of the guys that we've lost as well. So they have quality depth across the board. They've been an excellent team for a long, long time. They got great football players, and they know how to win games. They present matchup problems as well with some of their length and their size. They also have some speed in the backfield and some corners that really just they play man coverage and press you up and knock you around and play those perimeter runs the way it's supposed to be played. So they got an excellent football team. So we know that we need to be at our best.
Right here on James on the left.
You mentioned the corner specifically, Mario. Adebo might be, outside of your guys, frankly, he might be the best cover corner in this league. What does that matchup present, no matter who he's lined up against? What does that mean to the passing game, which against the best corners you face in Auburn, obviously they did a pretty nice job at times keeping things in front of them. With him out there, what does this matchup present?
He's a great player, and anytime you face a great player, you have to account for him, whether it be from a scheme standpoint, whether it be from how you want to attack a particular team standpoint. So we're very well aware of him, but I'll tell you, he's not alone. They've got a lot of other great players that also complement him in the core on the back end. So just overall really impressed with their defense and what they do.
Matt on the left.
With blowout games like the last 2 weeks, it's easy to see how teams could throw a lot because of just trying to catch up. How do you feel like your pass coverage is done because you're still second in the conference in pass defense, even though teams have been having to throw more against you?
I think the best part is if you ask our players, the only response you'll get is that we feel we could do better. And we've certainly improved in a lot of areas. I felt like Montana's got a really good passing game. Quarterback's a really good player. We talked about the type of length and athleticism they had outside, and as well as their slot receiver is a guy that just is a really good football player. So, we just feel that what we do is more important, and the focus on us has to always be at the forefront of what we do. And we have to continue to improve our discipline, our technique, right? Our fundamentals, and we feel we could take another step in the right direction.
James?
For CJ in particular, Mario, I know it's been a year, but it's something to talk about. But do you think there are any lingering things mentally for him with Stanford in last year's game? Is there anything there? Do you feel he has totally moved on past that? Clearly on the field there is, but it is the first time he's playing them since that game.
I don't think that exists with our guys and the way that our guys are built up and the way we train. And if there's anything lingering, it's nothing but motivation.
Back right, Jerry?
So, Coach, you had a couple big runs, Sean Dollars and Travis Dye. But other than that, did you feel like the offensive line struggled a little bit in the running game? And how does that bode for Stanford?
I think we had some good runs. We had a couple we like to have back. I forget the total number of runs. We had a total of 2 negative plays. So I think we're in the upper 10 or 15 teams in the country in terms of preventing negative plays from happening. When you play a team like that, they run so many different stunts. They run so many cross blitzes. They present challenges to the gap integrity of the way you're trying to run the ball that you're going to have some plays that don't look great sometimes. I think when we started running the ball outside and got away from some of that interior, like I call it spaghetti, all that junk in there, we started popping some better ones. But we were definitely better in the second half. In the first half, it felt like we were grinding out some 2 and 4 and then 6. And, if you stick to it, if you're committed to it, usually you'll find your bigger runs, your more explosive plays in the third and fourth quarter. And we've seen that happen for a couple weeks in a row. But we would like to be more consistent in terms of run efficiency. We would. We're at about 50%, which is a good goal on first down to have over 4 yards a pop. But we'd like to increase that number even more.
Matt, front left?
Stanford's traditionally always had a good front up front defensively. What have you just seen from this year's group?
I see the same, and they're deep. They do have a lot of bodies. Big body types, explosive, strong. They've got great edge rushers, outside linebackers, and they present some issues. I mean, they have their traditional short busters. Your 6-man protection busters where they'll stun them, bring an outside linebacker, and then challenge the integrity of the center's responsibility. They disguise their pressures really well. Typically, when you're facing a team and you watch them on defense, there's a tell on when they're bringing some type of pressure, and it's hard. It's really hard to find it. So it's a challenge to the quarterback. Pre-snap to post-snap, it's a different picture and a different decision-making process. So all in all, you just see a very talented defense that, I think they have scored twice, if I'm not mistaken, on defense. So they're opportunistic as well. And when they hit you, you feel it. They knock people backwards, and I'm impressed with their front and their front seven and defense in general.
You touched on it a bit after Saturday's game, Mario, about the going for it on 4th down and 4 from the 25 rather than the 42-yard field goal. You lead the country in 4th down attempts, and 9 of the 11 came the last 2 weeks. I get it. Not being critical, trying to better understand the aggression, because you've cited aggression in numerous instances, not just on the 4th downs. How do you go about strategically the balance of aggression? Because, all right, there you could afford it the past couple of weeks, but whether it's clock or whether it's 4th downs or whatever, just the strategy that goes with aggression where at times the results have blown up on you at times. So how do you try to balance that?
Well, we do use analytics, and we also take a look at exactly where we are in the game itself. For example, if your defense is worn out, but you need a momentum swing, you've got to make a decision. Hey, do we go for this and try to get the momentum back, or do we need to create a big field for the defense to have an opportunity, not have them, pinned back on their heels? So every single decision we look at objectively. We think it's important to do so, and we think it's important also to show confidence in our players, particularly when we feel that we're playing on the other side of the field or close enough to it. We have a lot of confidence in our defense. They're prepared for sudden change should it not work our way. And the flip side, or I would say probably the biggest factor in, is we need to get better at it. We need to get better at short yardage situations, a game-changing play, right? A momentum swinger. And we've got some practice at those plays the last couple of weeks, but we still want to improve on them.
Time for 2 more? No more? All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys. What I did forget to mention, we have played 26 true freshmen or redshirt freshmen and a newcomer as well in Salah. So overall, 27 new players have actually played for us. so far this year. Have a good one, guys. Thank you. All right, guys. Hopefully, you guys got everything you need. See you guys on Wednesday, right? Yeah.
We muted?